My dear brothers and sisters, let me begin this reflection with a simple question. If someone asked you today, who is the most important person in your life? What would you answer? Most of us would immediately say, God. Very good. But let me ask another question. Who gets most of your time? Who gets most of your attention? Who gets most of your thoughts? Sometimes the answer is not God. It may be a mobile phone, it may be money, it may be our reputation, it may be our comforts, it may be even be our fears. That is exactly the problem Elijah confronted on Mount Carmel. He stood before the people and asked a powerful question. How long will you hobble between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow Him. In other words, make up your mind. The people wanted both God and Baal. They wanted God's blessings, but also the world's security. They wanted faith on the Sabbath and compromise during the week. Does that sound familiar? We too sometimes live divided lives. On Sunday we receive Christ in the Eucharist, but on Monday we allow anger to rule us. On Tuesday we gossip. On Wednesday we compromise our values. On Thursday we neglect prayer. On Friday we hold grudges. On Saturday we become so busy preparing for everything else that we forget to prepare our hearts for the Lord's day. Then on Sunday we return again to the altar. Elijah asks us, how long will you limp between two opinions? Notice something beautiful in today's reading. The prophets of Baal shouted louder and louder. They danced, they screamed, they injured themselves even. But nothing happened. Why? Because false gods always demand more and give less. The God of wealth says, earn more. When you earn more, it says, not enough. The God of popularity says, get more followers. When you get more followers, it says, still not enough. The God of pleasure says, one more experience. Yet the heart remains empty. False gods are always hungry. They never satisfy. But Elijah simply prayed. No drama, no performance. Just trust. And the fire of God came down. Why? Because the true God is not impressed by noise. He listens and looks at the faith of the faithful. My dear friends, sometimes we think God is not hearing our prayers because we do not feel anything. But God may not be looking for noise or high volume. He is looking for trust. A grandmother quietly praying her rosary may have more power before God than 1,000 loud words without faith. Now let us look at today's gospel. Jesus says, I have not come to abolish the law but to fulfill it. What does that mean? Many people think Christianity is about doing the minimum. We might have asked this question, what is the least I must do? Jesus never asks for the minimum. He asks for the fullness of love. The law says, do not kill. Jesus says, do not hate. The law says, do not commit adultery. But Jesus says, keep your heart pure. The law says, love your neighbors. And Jesus says, love even your enemies. Jesus takes religion from the outside and places it inside the heart. A little boy once asked his father, "Dad, why do traffic lights have 3 colors?" The father replied, "Red means stop, yellow means get ready, green means go." The boy smiled and said, "Then many Christians must be yellow lights. They never decide whether to stop for sin or to go with God." That is exactly Elijah's message. God is not asking us to be yellow lights. He is asking us to choose. Choose honesty, choose forgiveness, choose prayer, choose purity, choose Christ. Dear brothers and sisters, the greatest miracle on Mount Carmel was not the fire. The greatest miracle was that God was trying to win back the hearts of His people. Elijah prayed, "Lord, let them know that you are winning back their hearts." That is still God's mission today. God is not trying to impress us. He is trying to save us. Every Mass is God's attempt to win back our hearts. Every confession is God's attempt to win back our hearts. Every gospel passage is God's attempt to win back our hearts. So today, let us ask ourselves, what is that Baal in my life? What is competing with God in my life? What is taking first place in my heart? And then we need to try to answer together, the Lord is God. May we stop limping between two opinions and follow Christ wholeheartedly, not only with our lips, but with our lives. Amen.